Halo could come to PlayStation. This comes from Tom Warren at The Verge via a newsletter. When Microsoft first announced its multi-platform approach, I understand the company was considering launching a Gears of War game and Starfield on PlayStation 5 later this year. Xbox Era first reported details of the Starfield on PS5 plans, and I reported that Microsoft was also weighing launching Indiana Jones on the PS5 several months after an Xbox launch. Both of these reports forced Xbox executives to address rumors of more Xbox games coming to PlayStation 5 during an Xbox podcast earlier this year. Xbox chief Phil Spencer confirmed that both Starfield and Indy wouldn't be part of the initial 4 games, and many fans mistakenly took that carefully worded message to mean they wouldn't come to the PS5 at all. While I'm not expecting Starfield to launch on PS5 quite as soon as Microsoft had been considering, I understand a PS5 launch is still a possibility. As part of Project Latitude, Microsoft has been considering launching Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition on rival consoles in early 2025, and its upcoming remastered spin-off Age of Mythology Retold could come too. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, which was recently released on Xbox and PC, is also under consideration for a PS5 release. Nothing set in stone for Project Latitude until it's close to release, and games that are earmarked for the project can sometimes shift based on Microsoft's own strategy and the work involved to port and develop the games. I'm not expecting to hear much about Project Latitude during Sunday's Xbox showcase, as Microsoft will largely focus on games for Xbox instead. Microsoft isn't planning to go fully multi-platform and not have Xbox exclusives, but there's still a lot of pressure on the company to deliver an Xbox showcase that both reassures fans and sets a vision for gaming over the next year and beyond. Microsoft has already spent months planning this event, and I understand it will lead the show with many Xbox first-party games that are launching in 2024. One game that's being considered for release on PS5 is Halo. Sources tell me Microsoft's working on some form of a Halo Combat Evolved remaster that is also being considered for rival consoles. I don't expect Microsoft to announce this during the showcase, as it's early days for this remaster. Oh, baby boy.
Interesting, but also, is that not bizarre to do a remaster of Halo Combat Evolved?
So Halo Combat Evolved has already been remastered.
Yeah.
We got the anniversary edition on the 360 back in the day. And it was great. Like, that was one of the, I think, first good examples of celebrating a game while remaking it, but then you could also like toggle the old graphics back and forth, and like it was really cool.
So it did the same thing that Master Chief Collection did?
Well, it was the thing. It was the one that did that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Master Chief Collection ended up like that was part of the Chief Collection later.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. If I remember correctly, I
thought Master Chief Collection was the thing that let you toggle back and forth.
I think it is, but that's just because it was just a collection of like that was part of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Anyways, I'm very excited about this because I love the old Halos.
Yeah.
And a chance to play the old Halos again, but better, is going to excite me. And the chance to play it with a DualSense with the haptic feedback potentially and all that stuff, also very exciting to me. And just the idea of Halo on PlayStation and Halo, the type of arena shooter that it is and the fun that multiplayer has, everything we've always talked about, just more players out there, more people to be able to play with. It's an old thing, so I don't think it's necessarily going to have the biggest like boost ever, but like I don't want Halo to die. So I like this a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds neat. Yeah, I think I'm always in the mind of get games to more players, right? Especially for something like Halo that is multiplayer. If you're going for it's just an interesting thing because I feel like the Master Chief Collection was, I know a decade ago was a long time ago, but it still feels recent enough where it's like, okay, like we're going to do this again. We're going to make another remaster, hopefully getting like that player base active again. If you want the biggest player base possible, you put the game out on as many platforms as possible. Like, I think that makes sense. I'm just fascinated by, like we're remaking or we're remastering Halo once again.
My thing there is like, they're saying it's early days. If this project sees the light of day, I am willing to bet it won't just be Halo 1. Like, I don't know that it's going to be like the Master Chief Collection, like again? All of them, but I could see it being like it's Halo 1 and 2 and 3 or something like that. Like, but I also feel like depending on what this is, maybe it is just multiplayer. You know, maybe it's not even the single player stuff at all. It is more just the maps or whatever. But also, we'll see what this ends up being. But
this episode of Kinda Funny is brought to you by Punkle, the developers behind Vampire Survivors. Did you know that Vampire Survivors is out on just about everything? That's right, you can play it this very second on PC, Xbox, Switch, and mobile. And if that wasn't enough, it's coming to PlayStation this summer with a Platinum Trophy, and I just so happen to be stoked. Why? because it's awesome. Vampire Survivors is a gothic horror casual game with roguelike elements where your choices can allow you to quickly snowball against the hundreds of monsters that get thrown at you. Mow down thousands of night creatures and survive until dawn. Pick your character, spend your gold on power-ups, and get to being the bullet hell in the game that features absolutely zero vampires. Ponkel even just released the new DLC Operation Guns featuring the classic and timeless Konami IP, Contra. We've been talking about this game for years, so there's no reason not to support it now. It's as affordable as a cup of coffee. Get Vampire Survivors on your platform of choice this very second, and thank Ponkel for sponsoring Kinda Funny.
I just think it's very interesting where we're at with the Xbox strategy of how they're going multi-platform. I am so excited to see just how they talk about their games on Sunday. Like this was talking about, and we talked about in our predictions episode yesterday, which everyone should check out our entire Xbox showcase predictions episode. It was fantastic. But I'm not expecting them to get into the nitty-gritty about the details of their ecosystem. I think they're really going to focus on here's the games. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about the details later. But it's going to be very interesting to look 2 years from now back at what they announced in a couple days and what platforms those games end up on. Yeah. You know, maybe not right away, but will the majority of these games end up on PlayStation as well? I think that's the right move, but they're not really committing to that fully yet. And this Project Latitude, it's the fact that it's a project, you know,
yeah,
it's happening. They're doing stuff. I feel like it's going to be very hazy and going to cause a lot of discourse for a long time.
Dude, I'm scared to talk about it nowadays because I feel like people, audience is very, I think, heated up about this specific subject matter, even though like we're pulling from reports and pulling from people who are pulling from their sources about it. So it's not like we're talking about it out of nowhere. But like, yeah, I'm very fascinated to see what they do, how they do it, right? How do they pick games? I think Halo is also just an interesting one of, you know, I don't think about a remaster in the sense of we got to build the player base. We got to like push it on another platform, especially Halo, which is, I think, a thing that you associate with Xbox, right? Like Halo is a thing where it's like, if I only could play Halo on an Xbox, yeah, like that makes sense for it. But I could also see this being hey, let's test the waters. Halo Infinite is in a weird place, right? Like that game isn't doing what they wanted it to do. Let's make a remaster in the meantime to put out there while we work on the next big Halo thing. And yeah, if we can put the remaster on PlayStation to see if there's an audience there on PlayStation that fucks with it and wants to play it, all right, let's talk about putting whatever the next big Halo game is on PlayStation. I can see that being the strategy. But yeah, I look at things like Indiana Jones or Hellblade 2 as like contenders that make a bit more sense as far as, we know for a fact that hella PlayStation players are going to show up for this thing, right? Like, people on PlayStation played Hellblade 1. People on PlayStation have played machine games before. Indiana Jones is a big IP. These things are going to sell there. Starfield. Like, if we put these things out, let's say a year later or 2 years later, we know that we're going to get that fan base that's going to eat it up and buy it and get us that money and all this shit. Yeah. But yeah, Halo Remastered, I think, is just a very interesting one to be considering that with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just fascinated that the business decisions behind them just not ripping the Band-Aid off and just going full on into it. If they're going to baby step into it, like I just feel like it's the inevitability of once you start this, it's not going to end. The profits are going to be there, and then it's just going to make sense. So like, why not just dive in, deal with all the people being upset now, and then make the fucking money? But I don't know. That's just me.
Gotta cater to the audience. If there's anything I've learned from us having these conversations, is that the audience cares a lot.
The audience cares a lot.
The audience cares a lot.
But like, that's not the real audience if they're not going to actually then play. It's not. Are they buying the game, playing the game? If they're not the audience. You get what I'm saying? Like, the audience can shift and change. I don't know. I just feel like if you're there for the games, you're there for the games, and play the games on the system that you want to play them. If there's more options, like if you're taking it that seriously, that like it's a problem. Halo being on more consoles is going to be a better thing for Halo, because then more people are going to play it. The game's going to make more money, and the game might actually work and be able to exist and thrive, as opposed to just kind of like, is Halo Infinite still a thing? Are people still playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people could be.
I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are in droves.
I mean, maybe not in droves.